This episode is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Some things are just better together, like party playlists and Friday nights, campfires and ghost stories, peanut butter and chocolate. And Reese's Cups are the perfect combination of creamy peanut butter and delicious milk chocolate. So, when you want something sweet, you can't do better than Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Buy Reese's today wherever candy is sold.
In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Serie Chronicles is a Media Chronicles production.
Hi everybody, and welcome to a little bonus section we've got here with Adriano Del Monte, our man on the ground in Qatar. So excited that you were able to carve out some time for us, Adriano, because I know you've been flat out. How has your World Cup been so far?
Thank you as always, Nicky. It's been wonderful time out here. Really enjoyed it. For me personally, this is sort of where my TV career began in Qatar with beIN Sports, and I'm actually here on the ground working with them. I've really enjoyed it from a tournament perspective, obviously very unique in the fact that we've had 8 stadiums within 40, 45 minutes drive of each other. And it's been a lot of fun. There's been some days where I've had multiple games in a day, which has been extremely busy. And it has been a tiring month, but no, certainly enjoying it. And the football, I think everyone can agree, the football has been magnificent, some shocks, some surprises, so many wonderful stories. And for Remain, anything can still happen. Anyone can still win. So it's been a lot of fun and a great thrill.
Yeah, it's hard not to go straight to what feels like one of the iconic football moments that's happened at this tournament. I think you're right, there's been a few, but one of the sort of perhaps, I think, ones that's going to endure because it might be his last ever game at a World Cup was Ronaldo leaving at the end of Portugal against Morocco. Extraordinary win for Morocco, which we'll talk about. But you happened to be right there in the tunnel when Ronaldo exited. I know your video on Twitter has already had millions of likes or at least views. And I just would love to hear about that moment, Adriano. You're watching one of the greatest footballers of all time walk out of his last ever, well, could not be, but could be his last ever World Cup game. Could you tell us about that?
Look, it was a moment that happened very, very quickly. Working in TV, I'm pitch side doing crosses pre-match, halftime, post-match. It's flash interviews, we call them, immediately in the tunnel when the players come out. So unfortunately, I missed the last 2-3 minutes of the match because I was making my way from my seat in the stadium to my position in the flash area. And my position happened to be right there near where the players were returning to the dressing room. And obviously I was just having a look at my phone as to what was happening live on the pitch. And I saw that Ronaldo was making his way off. And before I knew it, Ronaldo was coming down the tunnel. And it was a moment that it was very sad. I don't think I've ever been sadder for an individual in a sporting sense that I've ever seen live in my life. And I guess when I saw it, as you do, I just started filming, I posted, and I think it wasn't until I really got home that evening. Obviously, we finished the interviews, interviewed the Moroccan players. They were ecstatic. The Portuguese players were devastated. But then once I got home and really reflected on not the fact that the video had gone viral, nothing along those lines, but the fact of what I had witnessed in the flesh, and that, yes, as you touched on, it could be it certainly will be one of the, if not the iconic moments of this World Cup. It was very special to have witnessed live, but again, it was very sad to see. Someone, irrespective of what you feel about the individual, the player, someone who has dedicated his heart and soul to this game and has performed at the level that he has performed for the best part of 2 decades. And for it to end like that against a very special Morocco side, it was truly a unique experience. I think something that a sadder experience that I'll cherish for a long time, and just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But incredible scenes. Morocco have been one of the best supported teams here in Qatar throughout the tournament. Couldn't be any happier for them, and they've got full confidence they can go the distance. So a remarkable evening of football. It's why we love FIFA World Cups.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if it's interesting to people or not. I think it's interesting that the way the media part of things works sometimes that people maybe don't see. I'm certainly familiar with what you're talking about there. That thing of, right, if you want to get down for your flash interviews, you've got to leave before the end of a game. They give you a little announcement in the press box, say, right, this is the time to go, and you've got to sprint down there and you miss things. And then the awkwardness of the media mix zone. This is the situation in which journalists are sort of permitted to talk to footballers after games. Often is exactly like this. Players walk past and you're trying to get them to come and talk to you. And I'm sure probably there were people shouting for Ronaldo even in that tunnel right then. Or maybe there weren't, out of respect for the moment he was clearly going through. But there's something so powerful about those moments. I think when you see professional athletes up close, they radiate something a lot of the time because they are such extraordinarily healthy and well people to achieve what they do, that standing next to them, they can sort of seem taller, sort of just different to the rest of us sometimes. But then those moments when it's gone wrong, the crumpling of someone like Ronaldo who seems superhuman, the vulnerability is something so different, I think, to anything else that we see.
Exactly. And superhuman is the word I was going to use. Look, I guess a technique that I liked, well, it's just how I am as an individual, but when I interview players in a very normal manner, obviously elimination from a FIFA World Cup quarterfinal, it's very different to your typical game, but I always try and just bring that very normalized approach to my interviews and discussions with players. I don't like to try and make them feel like they're bigger or better. I just like to bring them back down to earth and keep it very casual, allow them to share with me whatever they wish to. In this case, obviously, as I touched on, though, elimination, devastation, you see these players as human beings. And for Cristiano Ronaldo, for all of the fame, for all of the wealth and all of that, he's just another individual. He's a 37-year-old young man who's committed, determined to be the best he can be. And he was just devastated. There was the emotion coming out. Obviously, we know that he was benched for those last 2 games from the first minute. There would have been a bit of anger and mixed emotions inside. And again, that's why I touched on it. It was one of the, if not the saddest moment I've ever seen in a sporting sense. Someone who you admire, you certainly respect for everything he's achieved, but bringing it back down just to the human level, this is a normal individual who's enduring a very difficult time on and off the pitch. We know that this year and over the last couple of years, actually. So I certainly felt for him. And look, obviously now he's got an uncertain future going forward, but it really pained me to see that live. And yeah, look, I'm sorry for him. But on the flip side, Morocco, as I touched on, it is, and it was absolutely unbelievable to be there. It was an absolute privilege to cover that match pitch side, because what Morocco are doing are creating history in their own right. And the fact they've gone through the teams they've gone through, maintain that compactness and just how strong they are defensively, irrespective of who's there or not. It has been wonderful to watch. And for me, that has been the story of the tournament so far.
Yeah, probably got a few less views, but you also had a video of Bono walking down the tunnel with I think his son hand in hand. And it strikes me from where I'm watching from England that one of the things that's really sort of been very vivid with this Morocco team is the involvement of their families. Like we've seen mums, we've seen kids, we've seen that sort of side of things. And, you know, I think that stuff's so important. I think people really underestimate how much being away for a month, playing in a football tournament, a big tournament like this, how important it is to get the balance right with your relationships and having your family members around. And it strikes me as really different with this Morocco team. The only comparison I can come up with, and I said it on the pod before, I think was Balotelli's moment with his mum after scoring against Germany at the Euros. But it feels like after every game it's like that. Do you get something with this Morocco team about the way they're running things that feels different?
Well, definitely it does have that family feel about it. I've been fortunate to cover a few of their matches, including their opening match of the tournament, which was a 0-0 against Croatia. Now, it was exactly the same scenes there. Post-match, obviously, once the players have done a few interviews and whatnot, post-match, there were a lot of children out and about. There were family members, and there was that really friendly feel about the squad. Obviously, with respect, Morocco lack some of the really top-level star power that France or even a Portugal have. But there is just that feeling of everyone's involved. They are one unit. They are one squad. And yes, that the video I posted of Bono with his child, there were many other beautiful moments with other players doing exactly the same thing. And it was really nice to see. I actually saw, you may have seen the images, but I actually saw when Bono put his gloves, which are absolutely enormous, on his son, and the son was wearing them. And then there were other players coming around holding his child. And it was just really nice to see. And again, it's just about bringing it back down to that human level. These are individuals doing something at the top of their game. But like everyone, family support, having loved ones there in your corner can make that difference. And it was really post-match. Hakim Ziyech was out there, Hakimi, they were all really just together and they were one. And I think it's that level of spirit that can really bring out the best in a team. Obviously, if you look at the Morocco list on paper, there's not 26 individuals there playing at top clubs in top leagues. They're all over the place. But as a unit, they've all spoken really fondly about the manager and what he's been able to do in very short time. This is a team who certainly are maximising their potential, and they're doing it with the support of their loved ones. And again, it's another reason why I say it is one of, if not the stories of the tournament to date.
It's sort of really interesting listening to Rick Rogui afterwards talking about his feeling that Arabic coaches aren't given respect, they aren't given opportunities, and I don't know if you have a thought on that, but what I do think is sort of really vivid to me is no country has ever won a World Cup coached by a manager from a different country. I think there's only been 2 that have reached finals ever managed by a manager from a different country. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think anything can happen, but I do think there is something about that sort of same sort of thread of when you're going to spend a month together, when you're going to go away from home for a month together, when you're going to do this, when there's a real shared understanding of the culture you want to have together, when there's something that the time you want to spend together and how you spend it. I think that's something really, really important in the mix that you have to get right.
Definitely.
And that doesn't mean they're the only ones who got it right, by the way, because I think, of course, all the teams that get deep into these competitions tend to. I did want to ask about the goal as well from inside the stadium. I thought it was sort of, in a way, somewhat poetic. And Azzurri scored a goal that, to me, reeked of Cristiano Ronaldo. That is that jump, that sort of being 10 feet high. I'm sure it wasn't 10 feet high, but he was right up there.
It looked like it.
Yeah. It felt like if it was written in the stars somehow that was how that goal could be the one to end Ronaldo's international run.
That was a moment. Look, in all the Morocco games that I've covered, they've just continually surprised themselves and their fans, it's felt like at times. A lot of Morocco fans in the lead up to the tournament were very confident that they would do very well. Now, did they think they would go to a semi-final? Probably not. But when that goal went in, there was just a sense of, oh my God, we're in front again here. And it was obviously, you mentioned the way in which the goal was scored, which could all but end Ronaldo's World Cup career with Portugal. It was poetic in a way, but that atmosphere inside the stadium that the fans have provided. Yes, when a goal goes in, but throughout the 90 minutes, every time they won the ball off Portugal, they were celebrating as if it was a goal. Every time Portugal misplaced a pass, and it just had that feel. And they're certainly playing that role. And obviously, they will again have that opportunity. They'll outnumber their opponent, the opposing fans in the semi-final. They've done so in every single match. You would have heard many commentators and pundits around the world saying, when Morocco play here, it's as if they're playing in Casablanca, because it is so one-sided that they're playing a part on the nights. And they did that there. Can they do it again? We'll see. Just on the coaching point as well, it's actually something we've been debating regularly with the network I'm working with here, beIN Sports, with regards to, should that be a rule? As players need to play for their respective countries, why doesn't that apply to managers? I know it's nothing new. It's been a discussion that's been had for a long time, but I'm with you there. I certainly think when you look at the cultural side and the level of understanding of bigger groups from the same country, there is something that can add if you have a local coach, someone who's from there, understands what it means to be, in this case, a Moroccan or someone from that region. And I certainly think that's why the statistics are the way they are. World Cups are very difficult to win. Getting through tournament football is always very difficult, but having that extra layer of understanding and knowledge about what it means to be someone from that country can certainly, again, bring out the best in a team. And that's what we're seeing here with Morocco.
Definitely. I do want to talk about the other game as well that you were at, that Brazil-Croatia game, because also an extraordinary game and result. And my mind immediately goes with all this sort of talk about the Morocco fans and the atmosphere they've brought. It definitely felt like there were a lot of Brazil fans out there and with very high expectations from what I've seen. So how has that changed since they went out?
Look, that was my biggest shock. Watching that one live, yes, Morocco was a surprise against Portugal, but Croatia, and with respect to Croatia, who continue to perform, they are an amazing group. But Brazil, it just felt that Brazil were going through. The whole stadium, 0-0. Brazil then went ahead in extra time. It just felt that, okay, Neymar scores equals Pele's record. This is written in the stars, Brazil going through. It was silent when Marquinhos missed the final penalty there. It was absolutely silent. And as such, we have now seen a shift in the fandom out and about here in public. Certainly there were a lot of people supporting Brazil, no doubt about that. And all of a sudden, they're gone, that sea of yellow are gone, and it's a very different feel about the streets. And there was a lot of disbelief outside the stadium after that match had finished. Croatia fans, there were only a few of them there with respect to comparing to how many Brazil fans were in attendance, but the Croatian fans were certainly making their presence felt. But there was just that sense of utter disbelief and shock when Brazil were eliminated of it. Look, I think at the end of the day in that match, they have themselves to blame. They took the lead. They couldn't close it out there against a team who, Croatia really, they weren't attacking too regularly. They didn't have too many chances on the night, but Croatia do what Croatia do, and they somehow find a way, another penalty shootout triumph. And I give them every chance in the semi-final because they did it in 2018. They're a bit older this time around, but they've got quality all over the park, and they're going to be very tough to beat.
Become a member at patreon.com/Serie Chronicles for regular bonus episodes and content.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.